What is up, my friends? It is Tuesday evening's Anfield Agenda news roundup, and we're going to take you through the very latest surrounding Liverpool's manager as the pressure mounts and other names are starting to come into the equation. We'll give you the very latest transfer news and everything you need to be ready for tomorrow's game against PSV Eindhoven. Tonight we're going to be a few minutes later than normal. We'll be starting the late night agenda from 9 p.m, so I hope to see you there. But until then, we've a lot of news to get through, so let's get cracking. So Fabrizio Romano has said, at this stage, the situation is under control. It's complicated and difficult. It's an emergency situation. That whole sentence is just a word salad of nonsense. Let me read it out to you again. At this stage, the situation's under control. So it's under control. One sentence later, it's complicated and difficult. It's an emergency situation. Liverpool internally are discussing about the manager, the staff, but it's not just Arna, it's also the players. And look, that's fair, because it can't just be the manager that's accountable, albeit ultimately it will probably be him. If anybody gets the bullet, that will be moved on. But it is fair that everybody has to take some accountability. Footy Insider have said Arne Slot is under pressure from Liverpool's owners to start Isak. I don't believe that. Let me just put that out there. I don't believe that the owners are putting any pressure on the manager about who he should or should not play. I don't believe it for 1 second. They don't seem like those type of owners to me, nor is that clever. If somebody's not ready, telling a manager to play them because you've spent a lot of money on them, it's not going to make the situation better. And I truly believe that FSG would know that. So I'm saying that's nonsense. Let me know your take, though. Maybe you disagree. Fabrizio Romano said Liverpool considering the possibility to enter into the winter transfer window with some sort of activity to add maybe one player. Nothing can be decided now. It will be decided. We will have to bring in a player. I'm almost certain we're going to bring in a defender. Semenyo's name is one that's been doing the rounds as well with regards to a potential incoming. But if you were to survey most Liverpool fans now, a defender, a centre-back is the one that we would all say is a must get in January. Now, Paul Scholes has had his say about Arne Slot and some of the partying. And normally when former United players will be speaking about our club and our manager, I'd be defending it. But I can't with this one because I truly believe he's right. So Paul Scholes has said, I think this started towards the end of last season. Do you remember when they won the league? The bad form started. They went away. They went to Ibiza. Arne Slot was DJing. Honestly, DJing in Ibiza. I think that's disrespectful. That before the season's done, I think it's classless. I don't disagree. I said so many times, you can't just switch on and off form. You can't just switch on and off effort. You do the right things all the time. It is either something that the club do or don't do. And if you aren't doing it, these type of things are to be expected. You have to be professional. You have to treat the league with respect, and the players have to be at it from every single one of those league games. People may say, look, the league was won. I think it was a bad look. So, do I think it was a bad look that the manager was away during the October international break when we just lost 3 games? All of these things to me look great when you're winning, but when the optics change, when the results aren't there, these things suddenly become problematic. And I don't disagree with Paul Scholes on that one as much as I'd love to. Fabrizio Romano said that Liverpool remain in direct contact with Ibrahim Konate's agent and the proposal for a new contract is on the table. It's completely up to the player. Liverpool are waiting for an answer. This doesn't sound good to me. That again, another player is holding everything up. Another player has power over the club, and the club are just sitting back, waiting and waiting and waiting. Where's the deadline? Where's the make a decision by now or we're going to have to move on? A lot of the stuff coming out at the minute, in my opinion, just makes us look weak, and I don't like it. Maybe again you think differently, and I'm absolutely open to it, but let me know in the comments what your head's at. Where your head's at is probably what I should have said. Liverpool's hierarchy, according to Footy Insider, are growing increasingly frustrated with performances under Arne Slot after their extensive backing during the summer. Duh. Of course they are. Nobody's happy, nor should they be. This is Liverpool Football Club. These results, the statistics, they're just not acceptable. But here's an interesting insight from Bayern Space. They say, now bear with me because there's quite a bit of reading in this one. I can now reveal that Bayern Munich has been informed through long-standing communication channels with Volker Struth of Sports 360, the agent of Julian Nagelsmann, that there has been contact between Struth and Liverpool sporting director Richard Hughes regarding the future availability of Nagelsmann. Bayern remain close to Struth due to Nagelsmann's ongoing connections to the club and because several influential board members still operate within the same advisory network that has handled his original appointment. Through this chain, Bayern were made aware that Liverpool reached out in recent days for exploratory talks. The exchange was described as loose and precautionary, aimed at understanding Nagelsmann's long-term intentions should the situation worsen. Richard Hughes was assured that Nagelsmann will not leave the national team before the World Cup under any circumstance, nor should he, by the way. However, depending on Germany's performance, an early exit from this contract, which runs till 2028, is viewed as possible for a club of Liverpool's historical stature. Bayern were informed of these nuances because they maintain regular contact with the DFB leadership and with Struth, and because Nagelsmann's long-term trajectory influences their own strategic considerations. Inside Bayern, one detail has circulated more quietly, that Jurgen Klopp is believed to be guiding Liverpool towards securing Nagelsmann, helping shape the succession plan that could unfold after the World Cup. In return, it is whispered that Klopp would be considered the natural successor to Nagelsmann at the national team, completing a chain that multiple senior figures inside German football have long envisioned. That is very, very interesting. And I want to know in the comments, would you be happy if that happened? If the club did decide they needed to move Arne on, would you be happy for Julian Nagelsmann to come in the summer? Now, here is where I would say, enter Steven Gerrard. And I've said this before, I don't want Steven Gerrard getting the job long term because I don't think he'd be the right man. But if Arne does get fired, I think rather than treading water with a manager who nobody's going to back or believe in, I think it would be the right thing to move on Arne Slot, bring in Steven Gerrard or somebody to just tide things over, try to get confidence back into the team and finish the season strongly. I know there's a long way to go, but this doesn't look like it's changing. And if results continue this way, that's what I think should happen. So let me know. Nagelsmann, would you be happy or not? I have questions around Julian Nagelsmann. Some stuff I like. Sometimes I think he comes across arrogant. But ultimately, he does have the gravitas and the belief in himself to walk into that Liverpool changing room and make things happen. That would be my take on it. Florian Plettenberg, I said Liverpool are fond of Michael Olise and view him as a long-term target. However, despite other reports, they're not planning an offer at this stage. He is currently not a concrete transfer target. Main reasons, he said he doesn't have a release clause in his contract, although others have said he does. Bayern are not open to talks and Olise is not inclined to leave. Liverpool are currently focused on Antoine Semenyo. Anfield Edition report that Florian Wirtz is still not back in training, so probably won't be in contention for the game tomorrow against PSV Eindhoven. Dominic Szoboszlai, speaking about why he thinks Arne Slot has used him at right back this season, said this: I think it comes from growing up playing as a central midfielder. In my opinion, a central midfielder can play any position on the pitch a lot easier. The midfield is where a lot of action happens in training and in matches. Alex Crook of TalkSport said Liverpool remain interested in Antoine Semenyo, and sources close to the winger say he'd be open to a move to Anfield. This one looks like it's very possible, folks. Now, I want to know in the comments, if we brought in one player in January, would you prefer that player to be a centre-back like Mark Gay or an attacking player like Antoine Semenyo? Do let me know. Arne Slot spoke a little bit about Joe Gomez and he said he's one of the 5 defenders we have. He had an injection last week in his knee. That's not normal if you don't feel anything. Apart from me making the decision to play Dominic Szoboszlai in that position, it's also to do with Joe not being completely fit. He is in the group tomorrow but wasn't able to train every single day last week. This winds me up because you cannot go into a season relying on Gomez to be fit. So anybody that plans on Joe being available for a season is on a hiding to nothing. And again, this is nothing against Joe. I think he's a fine defender. But we all know his injury record. So for Liverpool to go in so lightweight this season with a youngster who unfortunately picked up a knock, but even at that, a youngster, and Joe Gomez is the only backup, and Canade running down his deal, it looks like the warning signs were there, but they just ignored them. So that's where we're at for now, ladies and gents. Like I said, we've covered a lot there. We want to know your thoughts on Julian Nagelsmann. I want to know your thoughts on the whole situation. We all want it to go in the right direction, but there has to be signs of this. And when you look back at it, the things like Paul Scholes said about going to Ibiza, DJ, and I think when there were still games being played in the season and we had some time in between, it all stinks to high heaven to me. This club has standards, and those standards need to be maintained, or we need to stop talking about the standards. So we'll see you tonight, folks. I hope you're having a good day so far, and thank you as always for your support. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.